I'd like to welcome everyone to this presentation, the D-Wave Systems presentation. My name is Mike Michalakis. I'm with the Shindig team here, heading up finance and legal. So with that, I am going to bring Daniel up to the screen, and we'll get going with the presentation. Thanks very much.
Hello, good day. Thank you everybody for joining today. Very much appreciate you taking the time and your interest in D-Wave Systems and the opportunity that we are presenting through Harris & Harris Group to co-invest alongside Harris & Harris Group in our portfolio company, D-Wave Systems. Harris & Harris Group is a publicly traded company, and as you can see in the slides that will come up, there are certain notes and disclaimers. I just want to say to everybody that this confidential investment presentation contains certain forward-looking statements related to the investment objective, strategy, approach of H&H Co-Investment Partners and Harris & Harris Group. Prospective investors are urged not to place undue reliance on these forward-looking statements, and we are under no obligation to update them. And certain information in this presentation has also been obtained or otherwise derived from third-party sources, including D-Wave Systems. Such information has been included in this presentation as a matter of convenience, and neither H&H nor any of its affiliates assume responsibility or for the reliability, accuracy, or completeness of such information. Now that we've gotten the legal side out of the way, I wanted to start the presentation today with a video that was put together by D-Wave Systems about the company and what we believe is its revolutionary capabilities. So if you can please play the video.
I see quantum computation as being a tool that can solve problems that you could never otherwise solve.
In doing genomic analysis to help find better drugs.
Debugging large, complex systems.
To looking for bad guys in large amounts of data.
Space exploration.
Trying to optimize waterworks.
Building artificial intelligences that can help us solve very difficult, complex problems.
Building a quantum computer is a historic thing. And it's really like venturing into uncharted territory. There's no precedent here.
Quantum computing literally taps into our most fundamental understanding of the laws of nature.
In nature, there's this almost spooky phenomenon called quantum mechanics, where a thing can be in two states at the same time. And so the D-Wave quantum computer uses that strange property. What the quantum computer actually does is it's able to compare many possible solutions at once. So if you imagine a regular computer, if it was searching for a solution, it would have to go through every possible solution one by one, see if that's a good fit. What the quantum computer does is it kind of lays all the solutions down and compares them all at the same time, so it can pick out the best one.
The D-Wave system is built to solve discrete optimization problems. These are types of problems where you've got a load of constraints and you're trying to find the optimal answer to your set of constraints. Say you've had some kind of natural disaster and you've got a load of people who need help, and you've only got a limited amount of resources to go help them. So you've got a few lifeboats and a few helicopters. And what you need to do is work out what order to send things and where to send things to save the most amount of people as possible. This is a hugely complex problem because there's so many possible different combinations of sending them in different orders. So this is the kind of thing that finding a fast answer is really important.
The D-Wave computer has two what I would say really sort of exotic operating conditions. We put our quantum processor into something called the dilution refrigerator, which cools it down to 10 millikelvin, which is about 100 times colder than interstellar space, and essentially is the coldest place in the universe. We have to also create an extremely low magnetic environment for the processor to sit in. That's about 50,000 times less than the ambient Earth's magnetic field. And so there are these two extreme conditions that the processor has to be run in.
In this company, a few dozen people in 10 years have managed to make a technology that can match and beat the existing normal computer technology that's been developed all around the world for 60 years.
We have an incredible future ahead of us. First and foremost, we're just going to increase the capability of this processor. We'll have at least 2 more generations of this processor over the next 5 years. So from a raw performance point of view, this is going to be an incredible capability. And will make a huge impact on the way things are done in this space of high performance computing and solving these really tough problems for humankind.
Great, thank you. And now if you can bring up the slide deck. I'll walk the participants through the information in the slide deck. This is the same slide deck that we have as part of the offering materials on bankbanq.co, where you can go and review all of these materials, including this presentation again as well, independently. So if you can go to the next slide. This is the notices and disclaimers. Please read it carefully as you review the presentation. Next slide. This is a 506C offering under Regulation D. Again, please review all of these the information in these disclaimers, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Next slide, please. So Harris & Harris Group really does believe we are at an inflection point. We have been involved, and I'll talk about this a little later, in quantum computing and D-Wave systems since 2006. We've been watching the company, and one of my colleagues, Alexi, has been involved with the company even before that point in time. We've seen this technology and opportunity evolve from something at a very, very early stage, which was conceptual, to now an inflection point where you have this ability to really change how we approach very complicated problems that affect our everyday lives, from healthcare to logistics, defense, finance, number of very important industries that touch the entire fabric of the global economy and down to individuals as well. Next slide, please. These problems can be things as complicated as looking for mission planning for things where NASA is using technology for being able to look at mission planning for very complicated space missions, anomaly detection. You're seeing it used in research, both in terms of life science research and other areas, and material science, for example. Complicated financial modeling, risk analysis, constraint stratification. So you can take and look at how do you approach all of these problems where you have multiple variables to be able to do machine learning, sampling, and optimization, which are an artificial intelligence within those spaces. These are buzzwords that you're probably hearing in a variety of papers and other publications. They're becoming more and more the fabric of what enables all of the computers and information sources that we use on a daily basis to operate more efficiently, more effectively, and to provide better solutions. Next page, please. So what are the investment highlights? Harris & Harris Group is offering accredited investors. And unfortunately, we have to limit it to accredited investors under the regulations of 506C. But accredited investors the opportunity to participate in D-Wave systems through a co-investment vehicle that we have set up. This is a special purpose vehicle that will invest 100% of its capital in securities issued by D-Wave systems. Just as a couple quick highlights, and then we're going to run through very quickly the all of these points and try to provide the basis for you to get a feeling for what the potential revolution that D-Wave systems could enable. The company is the only commercial quantum computer company with incredible first mover advantage. The team is a phenomenal team that has been assembled with people that actually come from high performance computing and other related industries that historically have competed with one another to come together to try to build something that really can change how computing is done overall. The investor syndicate as well that has backed this company since 1999, and as I said, we came in 2006 leading the Series B round of financing, is an incredible group of top-tier investors. They have an existing group of blue chip customers, and also these customers have been repeat orders of their systems and upgrading the systems, and we'll talk about that, as well as they have groups that are using their technology through a quantum cloud or a cloud-based access. Their patent portfolio has been ranked independently as being exceptionally solid within this space, and they really have a lock around the concept of this quantum annealing and the architecture and a variety of aspects associated with that. That is the basis on which their quantum computers operate. We do believe they have a scalable business model, and the goal is to be able to provide ubiquitous access and broad customer reach of these quantum computing systems as complements and enabling pieces for everyday use across many markets, all the way from large corporations down to an individual user. Next slide, please. So what is a quantum computer? A quantum computer exploits quantum mechanical effects. What is that? It's what you have is a situation, and you saw it in the video. In quantum mechanics, you have a bit that can actually exist in multiple states simultaneously. And what you have is the system, and as you put more and more of these bits together, as they interact and they interact with one another, and you start to reach points where, especially as you start to constrain the system around an equation or around an optimization problem that you're trying to solve, all of the interactions between all of these different bits will lead to a solution. It's something called quantum annealing. And because they can exist in multiple states simultaneously, they look at all of the different solutions simultaneously. We'll talk a little bit about that in 1 second. You heard from the video that it operates in an extreme environment. These are not easy systems to build. It's taken the company a number of years to reach this point where they've been selling computers now for the past 4 years, and they continue to innovate and bring new capabilities to market, and they can solve exceptionally hard problems. Move on to the next slide, please. So what do I mean by, why is quantum mechanics useful and potentially revolutionary for these highly complicated problems? If you just have 3 variables and you want to be able to look at all of the different solutions, you can go through and test each one serially without too much problem. And you can use classical computers for that, and code breaking. That's for example, for a 3-digit code with from 0 to 9, you can go through and do that on a classical computer today. But what happens if you have thousands of variables and you're trying to look at thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of different solutions? You have exceptionally complicated systems where you're trying to take images and figure out, does this image match another image, or you want to be able to do image search. And now you have to compare, in today's images, you're looking at megapixel type of resolution. Trying to compare all of those different pixels individually is exceptionally difficult. So if you just try to do things serially, which is how a classical computer works, it goes one solution, then the next solution, then the next solution, that can take exceptional amount of time. Imagine if you can be able to look at all of those solutions simultaneously, which is where a quantum computer operates. Now, instead of seeing the time to solution scale exponentially with the number of variables, you're scaling linearly, and the slope is incredibly low because you're looking at all of those solutions simultaneously. Next slide, please. So D-Wave Systems is built around this concept, bringing the capability of quantum computers to the market to solve the largest and most difficult problems that even the largest supercomputers can't solve. It's founded in 1999. They have over 150 employees. They're based in Burnaby, British Columbia in Canada, and they have an office in Palo Alto. As I said, their IP, they have an incredible IP estate. They also have their first commercial sale in 2010. And they've sold to flagship customers: Google, NASA, Los Alamos Laboratory, Lockheed Martin, and USC. And they're expanding their customer base access through the cloud business, which allows anyone to get access to systems they have set up, sort of like Amazon Web Services. And that's another place of scaling for the company. They have a patent estate of over 128 U.S. patents, and they've raised over $200 million Canadian from, as I said, top-tier investors, and we'll walk through those in a minute. Next slide, please. So I just want to reiterate this. D-Wave is not a concept. D-Wave is a commercial stage company. They sold their first computer to Lockheed Martin in 2010. They sold D-Wave 2 to both. They sold an upgrade to Lockheed Martin and sold one to Google and NASA. And they've sold the D-Wave 2X. They've upgraded Google and NASA. They've upgraded Lockheed Martin, and they just sold one to Los Alamos National Labs. And as you can see, they've increased their capabilities significantly over time. D-Wave 1 started at 512 qubits. They went to 1,000 qubits in the D-Wave 2. 128 in D-Wave 1. D-Wave 2 is 512, and they got to 1,000 qubits in the D-Wave 2. And they're moving to 2,000 qubits as we speak. Next slide, please. The D-Wave 2X, which is their flagship system that's on the market today, released in August 2015. We just thought it might be interesting for people to understand the number of possible solutions that this computer can look at simultaneously. It's that number down in that second bullet down there, 2 to the 1,000. That is larger than the number of particles in the observable universe, simultaneously looking at to be able to solve these problems. And as we mentioned, these systems are already installed, they're being used, and actually if you were at D-Wave's facilities in Burnaby, you would actually be able to see they have screens up there to be able to tell you how those systems are being used in terms of the computational power, the time, and all other aspects related to it. Next slide, please. Of course, I can tell you all about what the possibilities are for the systems, but it's always great to hear from a customer. You know, D-Wave, or Google, one of their customers, just published at the end of last year results that showed on a certain set of calculations and algorithms that they were running, D-Wave's computer is 100 million times faster than any of today's single core machines. If you take, and even if you were to add up multiple cores, you will still not reach the 100 million times faster, regardless of how many systems you want to put together for solving these types of problems. It's an unprecedented speed increase demonstration that is part of the reason why multiple groups are interested in being able to use this technology. Next slide, please. So the company is great from an idea and from bringing products to market, but the team is who makes everything happen. You have an incredible team that, as I said, has been brought together from various opportunities, various spaces within the high performance computing and other electronics areas. The company is led by the former CTO, Chief Technology Officer of Goldman Sachs, Vern Burnell. The founder of the company, Geordie Rose, has been a leader in quantum computing space since he founded it in 1999. Bo Ewald, the Chief Revenue Officer and President of D-Wave United US, was the former CEO of both Cray and Silicon Graphics. Warren Wall's been with the company for a while, who was with Electronic Arts. And the newest addition is Dan Kors, who comes to us from Rentec and Global Crossing. Before that was also at very large companies as CFO, working on both publicly traded companies, privately held companies, mergers and acquisitions, an incredible pedigree that the company was able to attract as CFO as it positions itself for the next stages of growth. Next slide. The board of directors has some incredible people on it as well, who are not just with venture capital firms, but they've also been able to attract people like Don Listwin, who is a former executive vice president of Cisco, Steve West, who's on the board of Cisco and Autodesk, and then you also have a top-tier syndicate of investors. Next slide. And here's the syndicate. So you've got DFJ, Draper Fisher Jurvetson led the Series A. We led the Series B. Goldman Sachs came in shortly thereafter. You have In-Q-Tel, which is the investment arm of the CIA and other three-letter agencies. And Bezos Expedition, Jeff Bezos's personal investment vehicle, he invested in this company personally. So it's a great group of investors. We also have in this company, Fidelity has 2 funds that are invested in D-Wave Systems, 2 Canadian funds, and multiple other groups as well that are that round out this list that have invested the $200 million to date. Next slide, please. So how do you bring this technology to market, and how do you make really make a mark in the world where quantum computing is seen as being a ubiquitous and necessary capability that stretches across not just simple, or not just very highly complicated problems, but moving all the way down to being a part of enabling an app that you're using on your phone. And it's by partnering with visionary leaders that you get to that point. Next slide, please. And again, best way to see what people are saying about the computers is to look at the customers. A director of engineering at Google, you've got NASA Ames, you've got the former chief technology officer of Lockheed Martin, all talking about the unique capabilities that quantum computing can bring to solving problems that are applicable across multiple industries, and not just defense, not just quantum cryptography, not just space exploration, but even such things as image search, like what Google is using it for. Next slide. And there's a number of other software firms that are actually starting to focus on building applications for D-Wave. Think of it like Apple when they built their iPhone, and they have an app store that people are building apps, third-party apps, to be able to run on the iPhone, which helps expand the utility and ubiquity of that system. D-Wave, the same thing. There are groups out there that are now founded around, and D-Wave has partnered with, developing software to be able to use on the D-Wave platform. And you're seeing a number of groups using it for finance, database optimization, and deep learning. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier about the company's patent. So if you look at a study that was put together by IEEE Spectrum back in, this was actually back in 2013, D-Wave was ranked number 4 on the Computing Systems Patent Power Scorecard. They have patents across multiple areas related to the quantum computing, the technology they built, along with software, along with algorithms, and so they really are putting up a very substantial, and they have established a standard, and they're continuing to reinforce a substantial patent estate as protection, and also for giving them an opportunity to partner with the groups out there, but maintaining their competitive advantage within the marketplace. Next slide, please. So how do they make money? Always an important thing. So they generate revenue through multiple ways. They sell systems, and with those come upgrades, access, consulting, and maintenance. They usually go into also multi-year subscription contracts that sometimes may or may not include upgrades. But these are reoccurring revenue that occur over time and through leasing of their systems as well. And they're already selling access to their cloud-based quantum computing. They call it the quantum cloud, to be able to enable growth for the company into the future, and as well as selling systems, because it enables multiple entities to use the technology without having to spend the $9 to $10 million to buy one. This business model, being multiple-pronged approach, allows them to provide the capability to not just the largest entities, the largest institutions, but to bring in the opportunity also for smaller companies that are interested in building code, that are interested in using the technology for whatever their interests are in their own industries, to get access to it, rather than, as I said, having to buy a system. Next slide, please. So the company, as I said, has been growing, and with D-Wave, because they are selling these reoccurring contracts as well that go over years, from a GAAP perspective, you can't recognize all of that revenue up front. So it's important when you're thinking about D-Wave and its potential growth and its future growth to not just look at revenue, but you also need to look at bookings. And so if you look from, and I apologize, their fiscal year is based on a February to January timeframe. So if you're looking at fiscal year 15, that was really February of 14 to January of 15. Fiscal year 16 was really last year, except for January of 2016. So their bookings, as you see, grew dramatically. They now have these contracts in place. This is reoccurring revenue that will translate to revenue over time. Their revenue also increased. They sold more systems. And the company continues to grow and to execute. A lot of times we'll get asked the question of, okay, well, when is the company going to be profitable? How does it need to get there? Well, rather than speculate on that at this point, what I think is probably better to provide the background on is to say you've got about $9 to $10 million per system, which includes the service and the consulting and some of that other revenue within that number, at about 70 to 80% gross margin, sometimes even higher. Really, they only need to sell 5 or 6 systems per year, and that doesn't include whether or not they have cloud-based access. So any cloud-based access they have reduces the need to sell systems and has similar type of margin capabilities to it. Next slide, please. So that was a very quick run through. We really believe that the quantum computing market is at an inflection point. D-Wave is positioned, being the only quantum computing company out there, D-Wave is positioned to take advantage of the potential revolution that quantum computing can bring to multiple industries. It's, and I'll talk about this in a minute, it's not, the technical risk has been reduced and removed substantially. The market risk, the market is telling you that they want these computers. People are signing up for their quantum computing access. People are buying computers, and companies are buying computers and other entities. Now it's really execution and bringing additional software to the market to be able to enable more ubiquitous access via their quantum cloud access to the computers and expand the utility of the promise of quantum computing across all markets and areas. That is where they're spending their time significantly and effort, is building up that software piece. And again, they're not having to do it alone, because you're seeing entities being built now that are focused on building software for D-Wave's platform. Next slide, please. So just to step back for 1 second and give you a little bit of background on Harris & Harris Group. So Harris & Harris Group, we build transformative companies from disruptive science, as it says right there. What does that mean? We are a team of investors that come from technical backgrounds as well as business backgrounds. So look for the opportunity to disrupt industries, leveraging our understanding and ability to diligence and risk profile new technologies that can be the foundation on which transformative companies can be built. Next slide, please. We've been around for over 30 years. We are listed on the NASDAQ under the symbol TINY. We have in our portfolio currently over 20 companies, and as I said, we look for transformative opportunities in growth markets, and we have a strong interdisciplinary team. Next slide, please. Here is our team, and our colleague Alexei Andreev is the one who originally led this investment for us, and actually had led the for Draper Fisher Jurvetson when he worked there before joining Harris & Harris Group. But we have a lot of domain expertise, and we have been successful in the past in our investments. Next slide. Here are just some examples of companies that we've built. And really, I put this slide up here to show you not looking at really the fact that the areas of the companies, but we have been in multiple different disciplines, multiple different industries, but the companies we have built have been either interest to the public markets, or they've also been interest to large corporations which have acquired them. So we try to be in areas that that have the ability to lead to interesting liquidity events into the future. Next slide, please. We have been a long-time investor in D-Wave. As I said, we've got about $5.8 million invested since 2006. The value, when we put these slides together, we hadn't released our first quarter numbers. The value as of 3/31/15 is actually, or 3/31/16 is actually 11.5 million. That was the fact that the round of financing that we're going to be investing into was at an increase in value from the prior round. Alexei Andreev is on the board of directors of D-Wave, and our ownership is currently less than 5%. I show you this image to the right because it really gives you an idea of what we as Harris & Harris Group have been, how long we've been involved, and why we are excited to bring this opportunity to outside investors and investors in Harris & Harris Group and other investors through this co-investment vehicle. Because when we invested back in 2006, you're looking at 1 qubit, and it was a lot of technical risk. The company, it got to the D-Wave 128 qubits in 2010 timeframe. That was a lot of technical risk within that period. Now the question was, okay, we got a product on the market. Does anybody want it? D-Wave 1, D-Wave 2, D-Wave 2X. People have been buying those. Market's saying they're interested in this technology and they want to buy it. Now it's execution risk. Those are the kinds of opportunities we like to bring to our the outside investors and accredited investors because execution, we've de-risked this investment to the point where we feel comfortable that it's an interesting opportunity to bring to market. Next slide, please. So again, what is this? What we're offering, it's a series interest for Harris & Harris Group shareholders. It's Series J1 Class J1 shares. For anyone else, it's Class J2. The differences between the two are in the offering documents, and we're happy to talk about those if any people are interested in discussing offline. The investment focus, it is solely into D-Wave systems. We're going to take all of the money we raise here and put it into this round of D-Wave systems. You will have a preemptive right to invest in future rounds of D-Wave if you are so interested, along with your investment. Minimum investment is $25,000. We're looking to close June 1st because they are looking to close off this round of financing and position themselves potentially for another one in the future at a much higher valuation. That's the hope and the goal. Harris & Harris Group is the investment manager, and we're working with TriPoint Global Equities as the placement agent. I'm going to, and then can we potentially skip to the last slide? We keep going down. Yeah, actually stay here. So for people who are interested, and we'll pull this back up at the end, if you're interested in learning more about the offering and all the offering materials and D-Wave systems, please visit www.banq.co. It's the online division of TriPoint Global Equities, who we've partnered with on this offering.